Yeah. 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 Step into the zone where the truth runs hot, where the beams twist slow in the places we forgot. Red bricks channel with the lens on scan. We decode every scar on the skeleton of man. This ain't fiction, it's the furnace of the age, where the soot writes stories on a rust-stained page. Every warped out frame, every blistered shelf is a witness to the heat and the harm we dealt. We walk through ruins like detectives of the flame, reading every ripple like a signature name. Cause the melt don't lie and the metal don't bend, without telling you the truth about the start and the end. We live on a crime scene, built from the burn, where the ashes remember what we try to unlearn. Meltologists read the truth that the flames once felt. Yeah, the world leaves clues when it celebrates the melt. Where the world leaves clues when it celebrates the melt. Where the world leaves clues when it celebrates. See the copper drip slow like a timeline leak. See the shadows of the heat where the answers speak. We're the ones who step in when the smoke clears out, when the silence gets loud and the truth casts doubt. This is meltology, the science of the scar, the art of understanding what the flames really are. Not destruction, not chaos, but the coded reveal. A confession from the fire in the language of steel. We study the sag, the slump, the glow, the way the heat whispers what the world won't show. Every droplet frozen in the mid-fall arc is a breadcrumb trail through the aftermath dark. We live on a crime scene built from the burn, where the ashes remember what we try to unlearn. Meltologists read the truth that the flames once felt. Yeah, the world leaves clues when it celebrates the melt. Tuning live as the red bricks breathe, as the smoke curls slow like a ghost in the eaves. With the watchers of the wealth, the prophets of the spark, the ones who see the truth in the bones of the dark. This channel ain't fiction, it's a forensic hymn, a spotlight cutting through the soot-stained dim. We don't chase clout, we chase the molten fact, the evidence the fire left behind when it cracked. From the alleyway scorched to the warehouse glow, we follow every clue where the embers go. Cause the melt is a map and the world is the case, and the truth is the heat that the flames embrace. The world is a furnace with a memory long, a choir of metal singing truth in the song. Every scorch mark whispers, every ember tells, every molten droplet rings like cathedral bells. You can bury the evidence, hide the burn, but the heat leaves fingerprints at every turn. And the meltologists rise when the night gets still, reading fire like scripture on a smoke-scarred hill. We live on a crime scene built from the burn, where the ashes remember what we try to unlearn. Meltologists read the truth that the flames once felt. Yeah, the world leaves clues when it celebrates the melt. Where the world leaves clues when it celebrates the melt. Where the world leaves clues when it celebrates the melt. Tune in weekly, let the red brick speak. Let the molten truth rise from the smoke each week. Cause the melt don't lie and the metal don't forget. We're the keepers of the heat in the world still awake.
What's up, you red brick souls out there? This is Chief. I'm gonna give you a little meltology rap. Words. We're always saying words are spells. So I'm gonna try to cast a spell of truth upon you to disillusion you from the lies that we've been given. So I'm looking for more people to come on board and give a better narrative than I can give to help formulate words that can invoke people to think more. So from a meltologist perspective, the perspective that I'm going to give you from meltology, a theory that challenges traditional geology. But before I touch down a little bit, I'll give you a little brief history that I had a channel called Robert News prior to my Chief Joseph channel and prior to my Red Bricks channel. And well, that was taken away from me, but I was talking about all the capitals in America were here before America began. And everyone says, oh, you're crazy. But the meltologists are helping to prove this more and more and more every single day with all the stories, all these other organizations and channelers are trying to give you to convolute the truth. Well, I'm trying to bring you the truth without the convoluted aspects of it. So, like Chief Joseph, okay, I spell his name incorrectly for a reason. And people, oh, you spelled Joseph wrong. Well, I know how to spell Joseph. I spelled it wrong deliberately because I wanted to set myself apart because that wasn't his name in the first place. Okay, LDS, the Mormon Church, raised up Chief Joseph, and if you go back in the past when they found him, okay, like they found those cities they allegedly built, he was an orphan. Okay, why was he orphan? Because the parents and uncles and the relatives were dead. But when they found him, and that's another story in all itself, we had orphan trains running all over the place. When they found him, he had what they wanted to call a medicine bag with cuneiform on it, writing, hieroglyphic writing, whatever you want to call it. Cuneiform, I say it was, because I looked at many cuneiform writings and so forth. And it's talking about electricity and the methods to produce and harness electricity. And these cats lived in these buildings, were digging them up and living in these buildings prior to that. The story and timeline were given to this LDS and the Mormon Church and so forth. So, this ancient Mesopotamian text aren't just myths, I say. They're eyewitness accounts of a literal red brick meltdown in this realm. A meltologist would argue that what historians call a flood or a divine fire was actually a massive electromagnetic event that liquefied an advanced global, I hate that word global, red brick civilization. Meltology views the world through a lens where our current reality is a downgraded simulation built on ruins of a petrified old world. They tell you this is the new world here in America, and I tell you it's the old world. The X Factor event, meltologists would interpret the 4,000-year-old descriptions of world destruction as a record of an X Factor event, a massive electrical overload that caused stone and brick structures to melt like ice cream. Spartan Red always was saying that, melting like ice cream. I see him in my head as I use words to try to formulate this rap of meltology. So geology has ruins. To a meltologist, the hills and mountains mentioned in these ancient texts aren't natural. They are not natural formations, but are actually the melted remains of a colossal red brick buildings and energy machines. Yes, we live on a grid and, like we say, a crime scene. They believe these texts are fragments of a suppressed history involving a Tartarian empire or high frequency civilization that was erased during a series of events, a series of resets, if you will, to deprogram all of us from understanding what truly went down, and that's pretty much what they did. A lot of people in all different types of belief systems when they say there was multiple resets, this and that, in regard to the one big event. But the one big event was the meltdown. Okay, and you can't tie in the fact all these other resets. These other resets was just to deprogram your mind from understanding the truth, is what I say, and many meltologists will agree that there was one big melt and all the other stuff was just takeovers of these regions, of these, and it's still happening today. It's happening in Israel, Palestine, Ukraine, and now Iran. And we're gonna watch a little movie together for educational purposes about Iran, and you're going to see the melt there from Iran to Iraq, all over that region. So some places where nothing will grow and it's very arid. So it didn't happen that long ago. The physical evidence we'll see in the movie that we're going to watch together. And I hope many of you come and check this out. So, anyway, instead of looking at the cuneiform tablets alone, a meltologist would point to sites like uh, Cappadocia in Turkey as physical proof, claiming its warped caves are misshapen and misshapen windows and doors from that melted era. Some key concepts of meltology perspective, the meltrix, if you will, the belief that we live in a degraded echo of a superior old world. Okay, and this term that we use, pockets of survival, parts of the ancient structures that remained unscathed while others melted around them. Something to do with the grounding system again. So if you understand a little bit about electricity and the grounding systems, that electricity follows the least resistant path, and much had to, there was different variations where there was metals and archways and different things like that, um, and water, these canals which we turn into roads today. So we say this was like a red brick grid, like a computer board, if you will. A theory that the entire world was once a giant free energy motherboard made of red bricks, folks. And you say, oh, you're crazy, Chief. But I'm not. I'm not crazy. But it's hard to tell this to a world that is crazy, that's delusioned by religion and all kinds of other things, history, um, movies coming out. One movie just came out about Benjamin Franklin and so forth. And Meltology is going to break that down for you too, because those are things to further convolute the truth rather than bring the truth to the forefront. So while the perspective is popular in alternative history circles on platforms like Facebook and YouTube, mainstream science and archaeology classifies these ideas as pseudo archaeology, noting that geological formations and ancient texts have well documented natural and cultural origins. And that's complete nonsense. Meltologists will show you over and over again that these aren't natural formations what you're looking at, because we indeed live on a crime scene. So let's take a little look and explore about this movie somebody else put together. It's almost about 2 hours long, but hey, and for educational purposes, we're going to view it, and let me know what you think about what somebody else is saying about this, and how you, as a meltologist, can break this down to further help the world see the truth. So, let's do this. Let's get busy and see what we can't make some noise today as a meltologist live. So let's do this live together. Are you ready, folks?
Let's do it.
So I say, there's questions. There's questions. And there's questions. So we're going to go like this. We're going to shut that down right there. And we're going to come over here. We're going to jump down here. And we're going to say, you have a question there. Someone says, who do you think's responsible? Well, we can look at old texts, and old texts will infer that um, um, the Creator is responsible for the melt and the flood. Um, you look at old cuneiform writing, the old Mesopotamian texts, and so forth. It infers of a melt and a flood as well. Um, I don't have the answer. I don't want to get into any religious uh, garb in regard to that at this particular time. I'm trying to bring meltology to the forefront without any type of division. So what I impose right here is that we just look at the evidence for let the evidence speak for itself. So we're going to look at a video that somebody else produced. I didn't produce it, but in this video, there's a bunch of great um, pictures of Iran and oops, how we dumped that out there. Iran and the Middle East there, Iraq and so forth. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to look at this here and get that source out here, get my spinning ass out of the way. So we'll get that out of the way, and this is live, and we need you on board. Like, share, and subscribe. After this is a little lengthy. Some of you might not want to watch it all, but it's very interesting. I already watched the whole thing, and I'm going to watch it again because some of the imagery was so intriguing and overwhelming. I just, I would like to watch it, but I wish we could all be in a big theater together and watch this verse, even doing it this way, you know. So, anyways, with no further ado, I'm going to play this. I'm going to be in the chat, be listening just like y'all are listening. And that little song earlier, I wrote that song, but I used the AI to sing it. And a lot of people will say, oh, AI this and AI that. And we had some people on board in the red brick community who made such a stink about AI and stuff like that. They caused division in a group of people who I really admire. And I forgave that individual for causing that, but I still got a problem with that person. And but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Just more words. Just any way I can drive people to meltology, if it be with a song. See, so that's what I'm about. Just trying to get people to see that. So here we're gonna play this out, and let's roll. Oh, I'm gonna dump a commercial right off
Imagine
the
being
bat.
able to build an app with your name on it. Just by thinking about it.
As soon as we
Base
start, they want to
44.
dump an
A
ad.
complete
So anyway, forgive the ads. That's just the way it is.
At this site, around 500 mud brick towers between 5 and 11 stories tall have survived for centuries without using concrete or steel.
How's the audio?
Each alley is only about 6 feet wide, and the lower walls have no windows to protect residents from wild animals and intruders. Local people still follow a yearly tradition of hand plastering the outer walls to stop them from cracking or falling apart. Access to Shibam is limited by a few dirt roads, and many young people have moved away for work, leaving mostly older residents behind. UNESCO added the city to its list of endangered heritage sites in
UNESCO.
2015
Damn them
due to
UNESCOs.
conflict and extreme environmental conditions. From an ancient volcanic region in northeastern Iran, Kandovan stands out with hundreds of stone homes carved directly into steep, natural tough rock slopes. According to records from 2019, more than 60% of young people left because Kandovan lacks electricity schools and basic medical services. Here, cone-shaped rock pillars rising up to 60 feet were formed by compressed volcanic ash over hundreds of thousands of years, creating a rare hollow stone structure. Inside the steep stone formations are homes with up to 4 levels, linked by spiral stairways carved deep into the rock since the 13th century. During the 20th century, relocation was repeatedly proposed by authorities, but residents refused viewing Kandovan as the last place preserving their ancestral memory. Khoga Zanbil in Iran is one of the oldest and largest surviving religious structures from the Elamite civilization over 3,000 years ago.
This game, you're not ready for it.
You're in the middle of this beautiful sci-fi environment, and you're seeing intrigue, the
Oh, this
espionage,
stupid
the
ass.
alliances form.
Another damn commercial.
The power
Sorry,
that
folks.
shifts around, and it is.
There were no villages.
Okay, now, there's a narrative given as yet in regard to somebody else's creation of this video, but I'm after the visual aspect. I want you to hear the narrative that they want to give you, so you have a greater input to give meltology. So, and some of the imagery is just so cool. I want everybody to see it. I watched it. This is the second time. I'm wanting more people to get on board to help give a narrative about this to the world.
Or settlements around it, as this temple was a separate spiritual center, built only for the god in Shushinak. The structure stood about 80 feet tall, once had 5 levels, and was made from more than 500,000 handmade bricks fired on site. Today, there are no official tours, signs, or places to stay near this forgotten site. Many parts of the monument were reconstructed based on drawings by architect Roman Gierschmann, who excavated the site for 15 years. Hatra, Iraq, is known as a religious city and desert fortress that once repelled 2 invasions by the Roman Empire. The city was surrounded by 2 strong defensive walls and more than 160 watchtowers, forming an advanced defense system for its time. The Roman Empire failed twice to capture this city, even though they had more soldiers and better weapons. In the year 241, the city suddenly collapsed after being taken by the Sassanids, and it was left empty forever. UNESCO named Hatra a World Heritage Site in 1985 for its ancient military architecture and valuable archaeological remains. Located in one of the driest regions of northern Oman Bahla Fort is a hand-built mud brick fortress covering more than 355,000 square feet with an unusual and uneven design. The entire structure was made by hand using clay and gravel, with walls reaching 50 feet high and 10 feet thick, without any steel or modern materials. Inside are hundreds of prison rooms, watchtowers, sloped arches, and a deep well that once helped it survive long sieges. Even though it is now a World Heritage Site, the whole building has no electricity water system or concrete to keep its original condition. After the Neban tribe lost power, this place was left behind in the desert, avoided by people with cracked earth waiting to collapse. After being suppressed by the Roman Empire, Palmyra, Syria became a remote military outpost and was gradually abandoned from the 4th century.
Hey, it's Ashley with 4 Patriots. We're in a bit of trouble. To put it
Man,
plainly, we
another
need to clear out some
ASDM.
space in our warehouse.
Sorry about these ads.
Palmyra suffered major damage in modern conflict, with many parts bombed and destroyed since the year 2015. This place sits in the middle of the Syrian desert, over 150 miles from the sea, between ancient tectonic belts of the Middle East.
Look at that.
Palmyra's buildings were made mostly from soft sandstone that was easy to carve but weak against erosion, making the site extremely fragile today.
We know because it went through a melt. See? They don't tell you that.
After the conflict, Palmyra was left in ruins, becoming a symbol of a lost civilization that cannot be fully restored. Located amid cracked land in southern Iraq, Ur once served as a major center of belief and power within the ancient Sumerian civilization. The entire city was built from fired mud bricks made of river silt, with some bricks weighing about 66 pounds and surviving across 3 long historical eras. Only about 1% of the city of Ur has been carefully excavated, while the rest remains buried beneath more than 12 feet of desert sand. By the 19th century, the modern world no longer knew Ur had existed until Leonard Woolley uncovered it in 1922. Across the lowlands of southern Iraq, Babylon once stood as an ancient center of power, built on layers of fertile silt between 2 great rivers. Its defensive walls stretched 11 miles long, rose over 80 feet high, and reached nearly 40 feet thick, formed entirely from fired bricks, stamped with the name of King Nebuchadnezzar II. The temples of Babylon followed a ziggurat design, a stepped tower rising to about 300 feet, representing a sacred link between divine authority and earthly rule. The name Babylon was later forbidden in some medieval Islamic writings because it became associated with pride and moral downfall in religious tradition. What remains today are cracked mud foundations, corridors and stairways showing how the city was gradually abandoned before collapsing into long-lasting silence. In the limestone plateau of southern Iran, Persepolis stands alone on an artificial foundation nearly 40 feet high, once serving as the ceremonial heart of the Achaemenid Empire. All structures were built without roofs, turning the site into a vast stone stage where light falls directly onto carefully carved reliefs. The stairways leading to the main platform were gently sloped, so war elephants and tribute processions from more than 70 subject lands could move upward with ease. No relief is repeated, as each garment posture and offering records the distinct cultural identity of different ancient territories. After being burned by Alexander the Great, the site was completely abandoned because it lay outside major trade routes and lacked a permanent civilian population. Today, dark burn marks on stone and fallen columns remain as the final physical trace of an empire that once ruled nearly half of the known world. Pasargadae, located in southern Iran, was the first capital of the ancient Persian Empire, left isolated in a barren land, stretching nearly 6,000 feet wide. Each stone used to build the tomb weighs up to 10 tons and was fitted tightly without mortar, showing extremely precise and durable construction skills. Unfinished structures and collapsed foundations are the clearest signs of a sudden abandonment after less than 200 years of existence. Local people once believed the tomb belonged to King Solomon's mother, which kept the site untouched for centuries under quiet reverence. After Persepolis was built, Pasargadae was no longer the main capital and was gradually forgotten by the rulers. Rijal al-Ma is a centuries-old village hidden deep in the southwestern mountains of Saudi Arabia, built entirely from basalt stone clay and native cedar wood. It has more than 60 buildings standing to 8 stories tall, all made by hand using basalt-packed earth and local timber. Once a main trade stop connecting the highlands to the coast Rijal Al Mar survived, thanks to natural mountain channels and ancient stone water tanks. The structures were built without concrete foundations, placing stone blocks directly on firm ground to adapt to shaking and shifting terrain. Before 2008, Rijal Al Mar was not listed in international records and had almost disappeared from modern maps for over 50 years.
What if you could claim a stake on what's set to be the biggest IPO ever, starting with just $500? Everybody's talking about Elon Musk's SpaceX IPO. It's all over the headlines. Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg. CNBC called it the big market event of 2026, and the New York Times predicted that this IPO is going to unleash gushers of cash for Silicon Valley and Wall Street. So what is it?
Once a sacred heart of the Levant Baalbek in Lebanon, now stands like a forgotten monument on the Bekaa Plateau. The stones used to build its temples weigh up to 1,000 tons and rest on dense limestone bedrock beneath the site. Its tallest column reaches 66 feet, carved from a single block and decorated in the Corinthian style. Baalbek was once a major ceremonial center, but was left behind after invasions and shifts in trade routes. The semi-arid land and rugged terrain surrounded by valleys and mountains highlight the massive and isolated scale of the temple complex. After trade routes moved across the desert, Baalbek lost its economic importance and today receives fewer than 50,000 international visitors each year, despite being a World Heritage Site. Perched on sheer cliffs in northern Iran, Alamut Castle once shaped the survival and fate of an entire religious community. The fortress stretched more than 1,400 feet in length and barely exceeded 30 feet in width, built directly atop natural rock rising over 6,600 feet. Despite surrender, the Mongol forces completely destroyed the fortress, burned its main structures, and executed many Ismaili followers as a warning to the wider region. Susa in Iran is one of the oldest ancient cities in the world and once stood as a core center of power and trade linking Asia and Europe. Susa was built on land that once marked the edge of the ancient Tethys Sea and is now a barren plateau lying between two major rivers. Stone columns rising about 66 feet once supported a royal hall where the names of 23 subject peoples of the Persian Empire were carved. Susa was abandoned after nearby rivers changed course, leaving stacked layers of ancient brick isolated across a dry and empty plain.
You, just you, building your app on base 44. Describe it. And it's real. One thought leads to more thoughts. Layer by layer, taking shape. When you need your tools, bring them in. They just click. Okay.
At the edge of the Syrian desert, Damascus has survived for more than 11,000 years as a stone-built city holding on near collapse. Every corner of the old city was built like a maze, using limestone with courtyards, domes, and wells to slow invaders and protect residents. A single river kept the area alive for centuries, turning it into a real oasis with gardens and enough water for people to survive. Builders used local sandstone and limestone taken from mountains about 5 miles away as the main materials for the entire city. Many ancient limestone structures are now fragile and risk falling down due to heavy pollution and more frequent earthquakes. A report in 2018 showed the war starting in 2011 forced over 30% of people in the old city to leave their homes. Masada is an ancient fortress perched alone on top of a sandstone cliff in the Judean desert, rising more than 1,300 feet. The entire summit is a flat and exposed plateau with no shade, fully open under the scorching desert sun. The dry desert climate has preserved its ancient structures in nearly perfect condition for over 2,000 years without any roof protection. Masada was declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 2001 for its unique architecture and timeless message of loyalty and freedom. Many travelers hike uphill before dawn to touch the ruins and watch the sun rise over the Dead Sea from the ancient stone walls. It was not until 1963 that Masada was officially excavated after being buried and forgotten in the harsh desert for almost 2,000 years.
This is the Regina Sweet Cherry Sapling. Plant it now and harvest your own cherries this May. Developed by a top-tier U.S. fruit tree research station and highly recommended by orchard farmers with 30 years of experience, it boasts incredible benefits: a low dwarf profile, early fruiting, crack resistance, massive yields, and unstoppable vitality. It's completely self-pollinating, so even just one tree will...
Hegra is the largest Nabatean archaeological site in Saudi Arabia, but it never developed into a permanent residential city. You enter a wide, empty desert where massive carved tombs stand alone without fences or any natural protection. Each structure feels isolated and abandoned, with no visible roads, plazas, or evidence of a once living community. The sandstone is soft and fragile, so ancient builders had to choose carving spots carefully to avoid collapse over time. Greek and Roman design patterns appear on many tomb facades, showing how foreign art shaped local funeral architecture. One traveler described standing alone in front of a 40-foot tomb, feeling watched by something that left and never returned. Samarra lies along the Tigris River in central Iraq and was once a vast city built with the ambition to dominate the entire Islamic world in the 9th century. The whole city was abandoned after only 56 years due to weak soil, shifting river courses, and long internal conflicts. The Great Mosque of Samarra was once the largest Islamic structure in the world, covering more than 25 acres when completed in the year 851. The palaces here used passive cooling by placing open courtyards and water basins in the center of their design. To this day, your modern city has been built over Samarra, creating a strange empty zone in the middle of present-day Iraq. The once endless palace corridors are now only broken bricks and shadows lying exposed in ancient silt that has never been fully excavated.
Buy one 72-hour survival food kit, get 2 for free. You heard that right. You're getting 3 kits, but only paying for 1. That's enough food for you and 2 loved ones to survive a long weekend. Or more than a week's worth of meals for you, all for the price of a single kit. This may be the most important decision you make today. We all know when a crisis hits, food is the first thing to go. Whether it's a blackout, a freak storm, or even just civil unrest. And when it happens, you don't want to be elbowing folks.
Sorry about that. I was taking the dog out. The commercial got us.
Tak Kasra in Iraq is the last remaining brick arch from the Sassanid Empire, one of the most powerful civilizations in Mesopotamia before Islam appeared. Its parabolic arch rises over 100 feet and was built using tilted, baked bricks without any steel concrete or central support system. This is a technical achievement from ancient times that still surprises researchers because the tilted bricks were placed to create a self-supporting structure. During the Iraq War in 2003, the area around Tak Kasra was hit by bombs, but the arch did not collapse. With no long-term protection plan from the government, the arch is now listed among the structures with the highest risk of collapse. After the fall of the Sassanid Empire, the place was no longer used because it did not fit the goals of the next rulers. Qasr Amra is a desert monument from the Umayyad era in Jordan, recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1985 for its unique art and architecture. There are no signs or marked paths, making visitors feel like they have stepped into forgotten ruins, buried by time. The dome ceiling shows 35 constellations, revealing early astronomical knowledge rarely found in Islamic architecture. The structure stands in total silence, surrounded by lifeless land, with no sounds, movement, or signs of human presence. A single deep well cut through solid rock once provided water, showing how people survived in extreme desert conditions. Visitors are often surprised by wall paintings of people and animals inside private rooms, showing how Umayyad society expressed life beyond religion. Al-Ula is an ancient sandstone region in northwestern Saudi Arabia, known for its solid rock architecture, standing alone in the desert. The landscape has no rivers or shade, yet ancient human traces remain, leaving archaeologists puzzled by how people once lived here. Every journey to this place requires travelers to sleep in open desert, with no electricity, no water, and no signal.
EVE Online is a vast universe, alive with the unrelenting activity and combined history of its players. Pursuing lives of adventure, warfare, and prosperity, they share this existence in the biggest single shard, free-to-play MMO of all.
The area's geology has created towering stone pillars, shaped like man-made columns formed by erosion over millions of years. Ancient builders carved temples straight into mountain faces, blending structures into the terrain without using bricks or joints. Throughout the 20th century, Al-Ula was left off most Western maps because filming, surveying, and publishing site data were all strictly forbidden. Mount Sinai is a sacred mountain on Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, honored by Judaism, Christianity, and Islam as a place of divine encounter. The steep and barren landscape feels lifeless, making visitors feel small while standing among bare cliffs and total silence. Pilgrims climb more than 3,000 rough stone steps, facing cold winds and darkness, with flashlights and water in their backpacks. This ancient granite mountain, formed nearly 600 million years ago, built in one of the oldest crust zones on Earth. For centuries, people believed that reaching the summit frees the mind from the weight of the physical world. The mountain's shared holiness across faiths allows Mount Sinai to rise above religious boundaries and become a symbol of universal reverence. Jebel Firain rises from the Saudi Arabian desert like a vertical stone wall stretching for dozens of miles across completely flat land. There is no official road leading here, and you must navigate over 30 miles of empty desert to reach the edge of the cliff. The rock face is made of ancient marine sediment, over 100 million years old, showing the clear imprint of the old Tuwaiq Plateau. No one has ever lived permanently in this place because of the harsh environment only nomads occasionally pass through during seasonal migration. Some travelers drop small stones from the top and count over 6 seconds before hearing them hit the ground due to the height and thin air.
The best state to live in right now is Michigan, and nobody's talking about it. I spent the last 30 years.
Wadi Rum lies in southern Jordan and stands out as a vast rock desert shaped by ancient geology and an almost unreal natural setting. The landscape combines deep red sand, dark stone surfaces, and towering amber-colored cliffs that make visitors feel detached from the familiar world. Staying overnight without water, electricity, or signal forces travelers to confront physical limits and experience true isolation under the open desert sky. Across the rock, faces more than 25,000 ancient carvings remain unreadable, showing traces of prehistoric cultures that once struggled to survive here. Beneath the sand lie hardened mud layers, evidence that this desert was once covered by an ancient sea millions of years ago. Although many passed through, no civilization settled permanently, as the harsh environment made long-term human belonging nearly impossible. Mar Saba is an ancient Greek Orthodox monastery, standing alone in the Palestinian desert, active for over 1,500 years, without interruption. The entire complex was built using only stone and wood, anchored directly into the cliff face without any modern foundation. If you are a woman, you cannot enter the monastery, as strict monastic rules have been preserved here for centuries. Visitors often describe climbing narrow steps carved into rock, where doors and windows follow the jagged shape of the natural wall. Mar Saba is not just a religious site, but the last living trace of a once widespread monastic network across the ancient Middle East. The harsh isolation and rejection of modern life make this place a powerful symbol of spiritual endurance and cultural resistance.
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built an app.
Impossible.
Nina can't code.
Interesting. Can it generate reports?
It can't.
Dashti Lut is located in southeastern Iran, spreading across an isolated inland region where natural conditions extend far beyond normal limits for long-term human survival. Scientific studies confirm that Dashti Lut has recorded surface temperatures above 160 degrees Fahrenheit and covers more than 20,000 square miles of continuous extreme terrain. Historically, this region shows almost no long-term human settlement because it lacks stable surface water and contains no permanent architectural structures. The landscape of Dashti Lut is defined by sharp landforms, hardened rock, and salt surfaces, and an almost complete absence of vegetation across most areas. Scientists regard this desert as a natural laboratory for studying heat tolerance limits, wind-driven erosion, and environments that approach lifeless conditions. The surface of Dashti Lut absorbs solar radiation intensely due to its dark color and dense rock structure, causing heat to accumulate much faster than in sandy deserts. Rub al-Khali lies at the heart of the Arabian Peninsula and is recognized as the largest continuous sand desert on Earth, defined by extreme isolation and terrain severity. The entire region developed above a massive sedimentary basin where sand accumulated over millions of years through long-term wind-driven processes. Several dunes within the desert rise higher than 800 feet, placing them among the tallest sand dunes ever measured by satellite systems. The surface shows almost no exposed rock or fixed landmarks, leaving ground travel routes without stable visual reference points. In certain zones, sand layers reach several hundred feet thick, fully burying the original terrain and erasing surface features over time. Most uniquely buried ancient river channels and former lake basins have been detected beneath the sand using subsurface radar imaging. Shiraz is located within a broad basin in southern Iran and stands out as a long-established city that developed steadily inside a semi-arid landscape surrounded by elevated terrain.
If it is invalid, we promise a tenfold refund. This denture can be successfully worn in just 1 second.
The city sits at an elevation of about 4,900 feet, allowing urban conditions to remain more balanced than many nearby inland dry regions. With a population exceeding 1,500,000 people, Shiraz is large enough to support cultural diversity while avoiding excessive pressure on its urban structure. Shiraz expanded mainly across horizontal space, prioritizing open areas and walkable layouts, reflecting long-term adaptation to limited natural resources. Urban studies frequently identify Shiraz as a city that has remained continuously active for over 1,000 years without reliance on heavy industrial development. The city is closely associated with Persian poetic traditions, shaping thought education and intellectual life across Iranian society. Shivta is an abandoned limestone city in the Negev desert, with no rivers, no oases, and no longer connected to any modern trade route. It receives only about 8 inches of rain each year, yet ancient people built more than 40 underground cisterns beneath the hard, rocky surface. The land surrounding Shivta is strikingly flat, allowing the eye to see all the way to the horizon, without interruption or natural barriers. At its peak, Shivta served hundreds of incense caravans traveling over 900 miles of desert between Arabia and the Mediterranean world. Recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site in 2005, Shivta remains silent, like a farewell left behind by a civilization that withdrew on its own. Mecca is located in western Saudi Arabia, nestled between steep grey mountains, forming an isolated basin that is nearly impossible to access. The city was built on ancient granite bedrock that is hundreds of millions of years old and was once a seasonal shelter from extreme conditions. Flash floods repeatedly threatened the people here, forcing them to build an underground drainage system over 19 miles long, just to survive. Non-Muslims are completely prohibited from entering the area under a religious ban that is enforced at every administrative level. The security network in Mecca is one of the largest full-time surveillance systems in the world, with more than 5,000 cameras surrounding the area. Amid the dry basalt plateau of western Saudi Arabia, Medina appears as a forbidden zone sealed off for more than 1,000 years. This landscape was shaped by ancient black lava flows, leaving basalt layers over 10 feet thick, surrounding the entire city edge. In the 7th century, it became the center of the first Muslim community, marking the beginning of the Islamic calendar. The area completely bans entry to non-believers, making Medina a blank spot on most modern digital maps. Some zones still show high magnetic fields that can disrupt navigation devices and create interference. No building is allowed to rise above the traditional domes, preserving original architectural proportions for over 1,400 years.
Hey, it's Ashley with 4 Patriots. We're in a bit of trouble. To put it plainly, we need to clear out some space in our...
Beat it, Ashley.
Karbala is one of the most sacred places in Iraq, known for deep faith sacrifice and powerful spiritual meaning. Pilgrims walk for hundreds of miles across desert terrain, enduring harsh heat and limited resources just to reach this site. The dry landscape is covered in reddish soil and dust, creating a motionless scene where all colors seem to fade under the sun. Because of the extremely low humidity and fine sand, this area ranks among the fastest places for water to evaporate on Earth. Visitors stepping into the mirror-tiled interiors describe a cooling sensation as the soft reflections lower the heat despite outdoor temperatures over 110 degrees Fahrenheit. For centuries, Western maps left Karbala blank, marking it as a forbidden zone, both spiritually and geographically unreachable. The Dead Sea is a saltwater lake between Israel and Jordan, sitting about 1,400 feet below sea level, making it the lowest point on land. Floating in its still heavy water with no waves or life around you feels like drifting through empty space. For thousands of years, ancient people collected salt and natural asphalt here to embalm bodies and preserve sacred artifacts. Cracks in the salt crust constantly form over 6,000 sinkholes, changing the shoreline in ways no one can predict. Even without any outlet, the lake has survived for millions of years by trapping minerals through extreme evaporation. This is a place with no birds, no insects, no floating trash, a silent space that feels frozen in time. Bethlehem, Palestine, is built on limestone hills about 2,500 feet above sea level, creating a dry semi-desert climate. As you walk along the narrow and sloped stone streets, the uneven space forces you to slow down and stay quiet. The city rises along natural white rock slopes, with homes stacked like layers of memory, standing tall in a rugged landscape. Ancient rainwater cisterns still work today, collecting each drop as if holding on to life in a place where dryness never ends. Old writings mentioned Bethlehem over 3,000 years ago, showing it as a central memory point of the Middle East. Deep marks shaped like hands remain on the stone walls left by millions of pilgrims touching the same spot through the flow of time.
This game, you're not ready for it.
You're in the middle of this beautiful sci-fi environment. And
Sorry about that.
Nazareth is an ancient town in northern Israel known as the childhood home of Jesus and a center of deep religious meaning. The dry hills' grey limestone and red dust create a harsh and quiet landscape that feels completely separated from the outside world. Many old buildings are carved downward into the rock instead of rising upward, blending into the rugged terrain around them. You are expected to stay completely silent during the spiritual walk through Nazareth to fully absorb the sense of faith beneath your feet. The town stands on wind-eroded limestone shaped over millions of years, making the land wavy and difficult for farming. On ancient Roman maps, Nazareth was not even marked as it was too small and far from any major trade route. Sigilla, Syria, is located on a dry limestone plateau about 2,300 feet high, surrounded by empty land and bare rocks. The standing walls without roofs still show every shape clearly, like a full three-dimensional blueprint carved into the silent ground. As you walk through Sigilla, it feels like entering a fossilized city that remains untouched, abandoned, but never destroyed. Although UNESCO named it a World Heritage Site in 2011, the entire site still has no fence ticket booth or staff on duty. Najaf is a sacred city in central Iraq, rising from the desert as a powerful symbol of martyrdom within Shia Islamic history.
Oh man, I forgot, man. I'll be right there, man. Give me a minute. All right, I'm in the middle of a stream.
landscape is completely
I'll be there.
flat,
Peace.
with no hills, leaving visitors fully exposed under harsh sunlight and endless white glare.
Well, did you hear that? The phone rang. I forgot I gotta pick somebody up. So I didn't realize it was getting that late. What time is it? See, it's 8:30.
Buildings
I gotta
spread
get
outward
busy,
instead
folks.
of upward,
So y'all
a
have a
design
beautiful
choice
day. I
that
thank
helps
y'all for
reduce
hanging out
heat
with me
buildup
this morning.
and withstand dry desert winds.
See, I already viewed this whole video, but to have other people in there saying different things makes me think even more. You know,
For
so
Shia
I
Muslims traveling to
appreciate
Najaf is not
everybody
a
who
vacation,
stopped
but
by
a return to spiritual.
with Ice that guy's voice. That's only half of that. So I'll put a link for those who don't know where that is, but I'm sure you do. Ain't nothing. So we're gonna let's see, where's my thing at? So thanks for stopping by. My dog, I gotta give her some attention before I head out on the road to go pick somebody up. And I didn't realize it was that late. I hear my old lady, she's getting up too. I hear her starting to wake up. So, and it's 8:30. She's usually up by 8, but it's 8:30. So time flies when you're having a good time, and I'm getting hungry too. So everybody have a beautiful day. Love your neighbor like you love yourself. Thanks for all your comments. We'll catch you next time in the Black Mirror. Peace. We out of here. We got to go. We late already. Funky Cole Medina.
This hit it. I dig it. Come on. Cool and at a bar, and I'm looking for some action. But like Mick Jagger said, I can't get no satisfaction. The girls are all around, but none of them wanna get with me. My threads are fresh and I'm looking deaf. Yo, what's up with LOC?
Have a beautiful day.
At the other end of the bar,
we live on a crime scene.
When they know that I'm a star. So I
gotta go
over to the other side of the cantina. I asked the guy why you so fly. He said Funky Cole Medina. Secret on how to get more chicks. Put a little Medina in your glass and the girls will come real quick. It's better than any alcohol or aphrodisiac. A couple of sips of this love potion and she'll be on your lap. So I gave some to my dog when he began to beg. And then he licked his bowl and he looked at me and did a wild thing on my leg. He used to scratch and bite me before he was much, much meaner. But now all the poodles run to my house for the funky cold Medina. You know what I'm saying? I got every dog in my neighborhood breaking down my door. I got Spuds, McKenzie, Alex, and Strohs. They want me, my dog, along with that Medina, pal. I went up to this girl. She said, hi, my name is Sheena. I thought she'd be good to go with a little funky cold Medina. She said, I like a drink. I said, well, I'll go get it. And then a couple of sips, she go lick the lips, and I knew that she was with it. So I took her to my crib, and everything went well as planned. But when she got her dress, it was a big old mess. Sheena was a man, so I threw her mouth. I don't fool around with no Oscar Mayer wiener. You must be sure that your girl is pure for the funky cold Medina.
Get out of here.
Nope.